Hello everyone, Camille here from 88 Fitness Training. Joining me today is IFBB Pro, James Houston. And together we're gonna go through the top 10 things I wish I knew before my first bodybuilding competition. So this is gonna be a two-part video, so stay tuned, check it out. This is for all those first-time competitors. All right, so number one, it's gonna be about setting an appropriate goal. So let's kind of break that down and talk about that. So the first things first, like you have to know your why. Why are you competing? That's like the number one thing, because when stuff gets hard, that's what's gonna keep you going.
Yes, you better believe you're gonna be tested at some point during the prep. You're gonna be tested quite a bit. And if your why isn't strong, you're not gonna make it. There's been countless times I had 8 people prepping for a show, but come to the finish line, there's only 4.
Exactly.
When things get hard, your why better be strong.
Absolutely. And so kind of going along with that same thing with setting the appropriate goal, you want to do an honest assessment of where your physique is at and understand what is the kind of rate of loss that's going to be required to get you to that stage lean conditioning. Because stage lean is something entirely different than just being like ready to go to the beach on vacation.
Indeed. There's ripped and then there's stage ripped. Completely different. And Camille's kind of dancing around a little bit, but if you are obese, you better give yourself some serious time to get ready for a show. 12 weeks ain't gonna cut it, 16 weeks ain't gonna cut it. If you are coming off the couch obese and you have a ton to lose, time it right.
Absolutely. So a lot of times what happens is there'll be a particular show that somebody wants to do, and they'll try to kind of work backward to figure out how much weight they need to lose. And if that rate of loss number is too high, it's not sustainable, it's not achievable. So with that in mind, what is the appropriate rate of loss? And it's gonna differ from men to females. So for a man, it's about like 3/4 pound to 1.5 pounds a week. And then for the females, it's a little less. Like I would recommend 1/2 pound to no more than like 1.25 pounds of loss a week. And any more than that, and you kind of risk certain things like loss of muscle mass, metabolisms crash. It's just not realistic.
Now, if you're watching this and you've never competed, you're going, only 1 pound a week? Come on, that's nothing. Now, your first 2 or 3 weeks, you're gonna drop a lot more than 1 pound a week. However, once the first 3 weeks are gone, that's when the grind starts.
Absolutely.
That's when the easy stops, and you actually have to start working to lose that fat now.
Right. Yeah, and weight loss is not linear.
No.
Let me tell you, you're gonna have weeks where you stay exactly the same, and then, you know, that 2.5 pounds you were planning on, you blew that out the water, and now all of a sudden it's time for show, and you're not stage lean.
You just missed a week, now you gotta lose 5 pounds the next week.
Yeah, and we're telling you this because we've been there, right? I've been there where it's like, I gotta lose 3 pounds a week to make it to showtime, and life was miserable. And what did I do? I ended up tanking my metabolism. I chewed through a ton of muscle, so by the time I got to the stage, I didn't really look the way that I could have looked had I given myself adequate time in the first place. So number one is know your rate of loss, and it can be hard. Like if it's your first time, you might not be sure what you're gonna weigh on the stage. So, you know, sometimes just grabbing a coach or someone that has experience in that, they can give you a good kind of ballpark estimate of what they think you're gonna weigh, but careful who you take advice from too. So.
Yes, get an accredited coach, someone with experience, hopefully.
Definitely. All right, number 2, that's gonna be prep your finances. There is nothing cheap about the sport of bodybuilding, let me tell you. You definitely wanna go through what all the expenses are and know what that is and make sure that you can financially commit to that. So let's break down some of the expenses for you.
Some of the hidden expenses.
Definitely there's all the things related to the show itself. So you're gonna have to, one, register for the show. It's usually like $100.
150.
Yep, 100, 150. If you want to cross over and add additional classes, plan on another 100, another 150.
Before you even get to that, you have to register for the league.
Absolutely.
Whether it's OCB, USBF, NPC, whatever
IPL,
league
whatever
it is. you have to pay and join the league before you pay and join the show.
Absolutely.
So the league is another $150. And then you register for the show, which is $150. And then if you want to do multiple classes, you want to do bikini and figure, you're paying for each class.
I'll tell you what, one year I went to nationals and I wanted to cross over between women's physique and women's bodybuilding. And then within those, I did the open and I did masters. So by the time it was all said and done, just registering for the league, my classes and the crossovers, I was at $1,200. So really consider, like, talk to your coach or whoever, where are you going to be the most competitive? Going with that, especially if you're trying to be financially conscious about it, because it's going to cost.
It's an expensive hobby, but all hobbies are. So you're going to put your money into what you love and what you do.
Absolutely.
Another hidden expense is tanning. Tanning's another $150. Hotel room. Most people got to travel away a couple hours. You don't want to drive back after a long, grueling competition day. So hotel, another hidden cost.
For the females, there's hair and makeup costs. There's going to be the cost of your competition suit, which for the females, that can range to $300 plus. I've seen suits that are like $700. So yeah, definitely the competition suit, the heels.
Yeah, guys, our trunks are about 20 bucks.
They're lucky, right? I mean,
but the ladies, you're talking at, probably average $500 for a suit.
Absolutely. And kind of backing up to the leagues you choose, the natural leagues, there's drug testing fees as well. So you're paying for the urinalysis and the lie detector fees as well.
So more hidden fees. Lie detector, urinalysis fee, if you play in a natural league.
Yeah. And don't forget coaches. So if you have any type of training, prep coach, you're getting meal plans from someone, there's costs and stuff associated with that.
None of those services are free.
Yeah. My advice, is to break up the costs. So start saving money, and then, you'll have enough money for your coaches, and then a couple months in, maybe go ahead and register for the show. If you can break it up into like multiple months that you're paying for things and spread it out, it can be a little better than trying to eat all that cost at one time. But it is expensive at the end of the day. You're not going to get around that.
Yep.
So
you're going to pay to play, and that's, like I said, any hobby. I don't care if it's golf, fishing, dirt biking, any hobby costs money.
Absolutely. So know your finances, know what you're getting into. Make sure you can commit. All right, number 3 is going to be to prepare your family and loved ones for what you're going to get into. There's no way to get around it. You're going to have to make compromises and sacrifices in order to get all the way to the stage. And who you are today, personality-wise, as you kind of go through the process and get closer to, you're not going to exactly be yourself the same way you would be without dieting and all the training.
It's very true. I don't care how hard you try to be yourself, you're not going to be yourself down in the trenches, down when it gets hard, down when you're hungry, you're tired, you haven't slept, you can't eat, you're starving, you're just tired. Your your calories are so low. You're tired all day long. You don't want to do anything. Everybody's on your nerves. So for me, when I start a prep, I just apologize. I say, Camille, I'm sorry for the next 16 weeks.
Right.
Just take it, realize it. After 16 weeks, I'll be back. I'll get back to myself. But for these next 16 weeks, I am sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that if you're married, you have a partner, you're going to have that conversation, because they're going to have to almost pick up the slack of things you can't do, especially if you have little kids and things, because they're not going to understand why mommy and daddy all of a sudden can't go out to the park and play all day. And, your level of patience is going to be pretty thin. So you need your partner to help kind of run cover for you. And again, like, you have to have that conversation, like, hey, I'm not going to be the same. Like, prepare for it. And I think that helps.
And she said almost pick up the slack. No, your partner is gonna pick up the slack, believe me. And if you're a single parent, I feel for you, man, because nobody's picking up your slack. Little kids don't understand why you're tired, why you're cranky. I think single parents should have a different category, to be honest with you, because it is that much harder.
Right.
It is. I mean, be honest with you. I've trained single parents. I've done it as a single parent. It is very, very much harder than as not.
Absolutely.
A single parent.
And it's definitely a conversation. You want to make sure your partner is 100% in with you, because if they're not, it's almost impossible to get through this process into the stage.
Extremely tough. I mean, it's tough with ideal conditions. Sure. It's extremely tough with ideal conditions. And then you get a partner that's against it and sabotaging and hates it. Yeah. It's just that much harder.
It's definitely tough. Work can be tough too. You're not going to have all the energy that you normally do to approach daily tasks and things. So just be aware of that. You really are going to have to focus, and when needed, like maybe take a day off here and there. That way you're kind of recovered and you're not kind of lacking in the performance at work, because hey, you need that job to pay for all of those finances we went through. So
indeed. And I give work the same speech. I give my coworkers and my bosses the same speech I give to Camille. I'm gonna give you everything I got for the next 16 weeks, but it's not gonna be the same.
I would definitely tell them too. A lot of people will try to hide it, but physically, emotionally, and just in appearance, you're going to change. So I mean, I've had people say like, hey, are you okay? Are you sick? Like, what's going on? Like, all of a sudden your face is sunken in, you've lost an extreme amount of weight in a short amount of time. You're tired. So they definitely see the physical changes and kind of your attitude changing. So you want them to understand like why you're changing in appearance and mood.
Yep.
So that was number 3. All right. So number 4, this is going to be being willing to be flexible. So there's a lot of unforeseen circumstances and things that are going to pop up while you are getting ready for the stage, and you really need to have a flexible mindset, adaptable mindset to get through it. So we actually had one client during COVID that was getting ready for a show. Oh my goodness, shows were being canceled left and right. Her show date changed 3 times before she finally was able to compete. And so we had to hold her kind of close to a stage weight for a really long time. And so she really needed to have patience and flexibility to even make it that far.
Indeed. And she was 2 weeks out.
Yeah, she was 2 weeks out.
Can you imagine getting that close? So for me, this is a little different. Life doesn't stop.
Right.
You can't pause life and say, nah, I'm doing a prep for 12 weeks, 16 weeks.
I wish you could.
We're going to stop everything over here. So you got to be flexible. You have to take care of life.
Absolutely.
Work, family, responsibilities. They're not going to go away.
Right.
They're not going to pause. So you got to take care of them. You got to be flexible with whatever life throws at you.
Absolutely. And you got to keep that in mind, because bodybuilding can be a very selfish sport.
Yeah, it is
like,
very selfish.
However long your prep is, it's pretty much all about you. But at the same time, you need to kind of take a step back sometimes and say, hey, there's still things going on around me, and I do need to be aware of that and as flexible as I can while still meeting my goals of getting to the stage.
You might get sick. You might get injured. There's a plethora of things that could happen. I've gotten sick 3 weeks out from a show. People said, you're gonna fall out of the show, you're not gonna do the show. Baloney. I got better and I did the show. But it's something that came up. I've been injured during prep.
Oh, I pretty much plan on being injured. It's happened to me almost every single time. Something doesn't feel right or something gets tweaked and you have to work around it.
Yeah, you gotta work around it, keep going, or cancel and not do the show.
Yeah.
Which, who wants to do that, right?
No.
We're gonna do the show, so do your best to not get injured, but if it does happen, you just gotta work around it until game day. And It's not any different than any other sport. Football players are injured, MMA players are injured, baseball players are injured. Very rarely are these athletes at 100%.
Absolutely. And if something serious does come up,
go to doctor.
Well, definitely go to doctor, but I was just going to say, be willing to change your show. It's okay. Yep. At least in the NPC, there is pretty much a show every single weekend, so chances of you being able to push out a couple weeks and go to another local show is really high. Same with OCB. There's so many shows, so many options. Yeah. If you're not where you need to be in terms of leanness, instead of forcing it, pick a different show. You got a serious medical thing that pops up, take the time to recover and pick another show.
Yeah.
If it's something not that serious, great. There's always ways to work around it, push forward, but.
And you touched on it. If you do a prep right, you should hit your date. Right. But if something happens along the way, you stumble, something messes up, don't be afraid to push that date out. If you're not ready by your show date, don't get on stage out of shape and embarrass yourself. Just pick another show.
Absolutely.
You might have to drive farther to get there.
That'd be all right.
Just pick a show a couple weeks later.
Absolutely.
So when you are ready. Yeah.
So be flexible. All right, number 5. This is going to be getting your diet and nutrition in order. So in order to be successful, you really are going to have to track what you're consuming, what you're eating. So if this is something that you're not used to doing, there's a huge learning curve. I highly, highly recommend before you get into your official prep that you start learning how to count those calories and macros.
It goes back to effort. Put the effort into diet, put the effort into tracking your food, your calories, and your macros. Even if you're not competing and you're just going after gains, still track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to be standing up on the stage thinking, I could have did more, I could have did better, I could have tracked this closer. And besides, if you don't know what you're eating, how do you know what to change every week? I think we covered this during a live video. You're just throwing darts randomly and hoping that you're going to hit bullseye. I mean, there's too much variability day to day in order to do that.
If you're serious, you're tracking. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
If you're not tracking, you're not serious.
And then, so one of the things that's a common mistake our clients make is knowing what a carb is. So of course everyone knows bread, pasta, okay, those are carbs, but there's carbs in vegetables.
Carbs are vegetables.
Yeah, they are. A lot of people have this misconception, I can eat as much celery as I want, they're negative calories. No, they're carbs.
They're carbs.
Absolutely. Other things like milk. People won't be aware that there's carbs in milk, but yes, there's absolutely carbs in milk.
Fruit. Check your toothpaste.
It's extreme, but yes.
I bet you there's carbs in your toothpaste.
Absolutely. Another one that trips our clients up is their vitamins. A lot of people love gummy vitamins. There's carbs in your gummy vitamins, so ditch them before. I'm not saying not to take vitamins, but find ones that don't have carbs. There's plenty of them.
The non-gummy type.
They're not as good, I know. But hey, if you want to win, you got to track those carbs. There's carbs in your pre-workouts, your BCAAs, anything you kind of consume and put in your mouth, you need to read the nutrition label and make sure you're understanding what's a carb and what's not carb.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're doing this right, you're coming off of a bulk, going into your cut. So you know where your calories are, your metabolism's ramped up, you should be tired of eating, so you're ready to diet. If you're doing it right, you're gonna go from bulk straight to cut.
Absolutely.
And you need your numbers and you need to track them to do that.
Another misconception is the fat in the diet. A lot of the clients will just hey, fat bad, and pull it back. But you actually need fat in your diet to control your weight loss hormones. And you will totally tank your metabolism if you pull all that fat out. And I've done it. So I was deep into a prep, the scale stopped moving, I pulled fat out of my diet, was doing pretty much all lean protein, whatever, and I couldn't lose any more weight. So even I've made that mistake, so don't make that mistake. You need a balanced diet. It's not any one particular macronutrient that's gonna cause you to be overweight. You could still eat carbs, you can still eat protein and fat all the way up until stage day. It's more of a calorie energy deficit is what you need week to week, not any particular macro.
Yes, and that's a very good point. And it has affected not just Camille. I've had several clients that say, I'm eating zero fat. Why am I not losing weight? You have to eat fat to lose weight.
Absolutely.
There's hormone processes, there's enzymes, there's a bunch of stuff that fat does.
Absolutely.
If you cut fat completely out of your diet, you're gonna mess your hormones up, you're not gonna lose weight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So I always recommend 20 to 30% of your diet, but definitely no less than 15. So as you're kind of getting closer to stage time, sometimes it no longer makes sense to have 30% fat in your diet because
9 calories.
9 calories for every gram. So at that point, it's okay to pull it down a little bit, but again, no lower than 15% for sure.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't go lower.
Absolutely. Another thing, there's good, better, best. So, think about what you're eating. Is this the most nutrient dense food that you can eat for the calories, or are you eating a lot of empty calories and still hungry? So just something to think about.
We get it all the time. Should I eat this? Well, is that the best option that we have? If it is, then yes, you should eat it. But if it's just good, or if it's better than good, maybe you should look for best.
Absolutely. So this happens a lot when clients want to still go out and socialize. So they'll say something like, well, can I still eat that Big Mac if it fits my macros? And the answer is yes, you could,
Yes,
but
you
you
can.
might be hungry for the rest of the day because you blew all of your calories and all of those macros on that Big Mac versus spreading it out and getting to eat a lot more volume of food.
Right. So if you eat the Big Mac, you have to sacrifice calories somewhere else.
Right. So good, better, best, that should always be the question you ask yourself before you're consuming something. Is this the best?
If you want to be the best, do the best.
Right.
It's that simple.
All right, so let's say you are doing the best, you're not losing the weight, all the macros look good. One thing that a lot of people do to like a knee-jerk reaction is all of a sudden they want to pull a lot of calories out. So they're like, the scale didn't move this week. I'm going to dump 200, 500 calories. That may not be necessary. Sometimes just the smallest change, it could be 50 calories even, and it'll make such a big difference.
It can be 10 minutes more cardio.
Absolutely.
So that's a good point. Listen to your coach.
Absolutely.
Listen
Trust them.
to whoever's telling you what to eat. I can't tell you how many clients will show up 4 days after a training session and say, oh, I had to change the carbs.
I didn't tell you to change the carbs. Like, what happened?
Number one, I'm doing your carbs. You don't change them. Number two, when did you change them? Did you make it actually one day on the diet before you had to change it? Number three, you might want to pick a different sport if you can't go low carb for just a couple of days.
And there's a lot more at play too. So as a prep coach, we're looking at what do you look like in your check-in photos? What do you look like in person, on video? Like a lot of times the client physically leaned out, but the scale didn't move, and that's okay.
Your weight is not the best scale.
Right.
The mirror, the pictures, and seeing you is the best scale to
Absolutely.
use. Because you can change, your body can change without losing weight.
Yeah, I think you have said it before. You had a client, right, that...
Female that lost 3 pounds the entire prep. 3 pounds. She won the show. So that should tell you.
Right.
And she was pretty soft to begin with.
Yeah.
Only lost 3 pounds, so she completely changed her body enough to win a show, but only lost 3 pounds. The scale only moved 3 pounds.
Absolutely. So weight's not a good indicator. You need the full picture in order to figure that out. And definitely don't do any knee-jerk reactions and just change your diet without really thinking that through.
Another one's cardio. You know, we prescribe cardio. It's a tool to lose weight. And then we get clients going, oh, I did an extra 20 minutes. Oh, I did an extra 30 minutes. I did an extra 40 minutes. Did you do extra 30 minutes every day or just one day?
Right.
You're throwing off what we can adjust every time you do that.
Absolutely.
So don't do less. Don't do more than what your coaches tell you to do. Just follow the plan.
That's right.
And if you're not comfortable with the coach, if you don't trust them, fire them.
Yes, you definitely need someone that you work well with, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, one last thing on diet. Diet is not universal. You cannot take a diet that somebody else used or recommended and apply it to yourself. Every single person's different. They have different nutritional needs and requirements.
And their metabolism's different. They're not going to lose weight the same rate. So if you do the same diet, one person's losing weight like crazy, the other one's just crawling along here. You're going to have to change this person's diet, not keep it the same as this one so she can catch up.
Absolutely. So there's differences between person to person, gender, within races. There's so many different variables that everyone's diet should be 100% unique. So if you're on a big team or something like that and everyone's on the same exact calorie count, same macros, you need to ask some questions because that's not right.
That should be a light bulb that goes off in your head. It says, whoa, something's wrong.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So that was all about getting your diet and nutrition in order.